Hey, what up, y'all? It's Aaron at Phaser Media, and the Five Nights at Freddy's trailer just came out. So before we get into this, I just want to say thank you for watching, and please remember to like and subscribe. So since this is a newer YouTube channel, and YouTube's kind of new for me, a lot of you don't know that I'm a huge Five Nights at Freddy's fan. I go on Five Nights at Freddy's subreddit every day. I watch every Five Nights at Freddy's YouTuber, I'm pretty sure. In case you can't tell by my style of YouTubing, I'm very influenced by a lot of Five Nights at Freddy's YouTubers. It's a video game series that really calls to me because I'm a huge fan of horror. I'm also a huge fan of 90s nostalgia, like a lot of millennials are. And I also like cryptic storytelling a lot. So Five Nights at Freddy's really just scratches that itch for me. Today I want to talk about some things I noticed in the trailer, or some things I want to talk about in the trailer. I'm sure there's a plethora of videos being uploaded right now. I'm probably going to spend the night watching them myself, and I wanted to record this before I got too influenced and biased, you know? What's Dawko going to say? What's Rytos going to say? What's ID's Fantasy going to say? I don't know. You know, what's John at FNAF going to say? I don't want to be influenced by that. I want to tell you my initial thoughts. All right, jokes aside, let's get into this. So right off the rip, I don't think that Mike's conversation about the job and William Afton talking about the job, I don't think those are the same conversation. I think they're being cut together to make it seem like that, especially since we see Springtrap later in the trailer. And also, I know that the movie can deviate from the story, but in the game story, Michael and William are father and son. Have they really been estranged that long where they wouldn't realize they were talking to each other and not know about it? I don't think that we're actually hearing the real back and forth of the conversation. In my opinion, it looks like the William Afton side of the conversation is going to be a flashback, and then Mike's is going to be in the present. Next thing I want to say is that I love the shot of the mice going through the vents. That like really calls back to the first few games, especially Five Nights at Freddy's 3, where you have Springtrap going through the vents. There were vents in 2 as well, but I feel like Springtrap being the only animatronic in Five Nights at Freddy's 3, that the vents are more iconic for him, but that's just my opinion. Okay, so I also want to address the whole Matt Lillard as William Afton thing. I know to a lot of you younger heads, I'm pretty old, but nah. I know to a lot of you younger heads, he's Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, which honestly, even that movie's kind of old at this point, but a lot of you probably don't realize how iconic the first Scream movie was.
I'll be right back.
If you haven't seen SLC Punk, I mean, he's not a villain in that movie, but he gets kind of wild in that movie. There's a lot of really good examples of Matt Lillard just killing it, regardless of what role he's in. My wife and I were a huge fan of the show Good Girls, even though he kind of played like the dumpy husband on the show. He did a really good job. I mean, he goes through a lot of emotional torment over the course of that show. So I am excited for Elizabeth Lail playing, I believe she's playing Vanessa in this, according to the casting call. I think it's kind of cool. I liked her in season 1 of You as Guinevere Beck. I mean, I don't like Guinevere Beck, but I thought she did a good job acting it. I just don't think Guinevere is supposed to be like the most likable character on that show, despite dating a serial killer. Spoilers. Just kidding. You should already know what that show's about at this point. Obviously, the whole weird thing about this is that Vanessa doesn't come into the games until way later on in the series. And how are they gonna fit her into the story that looks like it's based around the original trilogy of games before we really knew about any of the crazy sci-fi stuff that comes in the future of the series? But I'm still interested. I think it could be cool, especially, you know, Five Nights at Freddy's as a movie series probably won't be like a Halloween or a Friday the 13th where there's 18, 19 movies of it. So I want to say with having Vanessa come in early like this, that they're probably planning for it to be like a trilogy or 2 movies. So you have to kind of find a way to consolidate the like what dozen plus Five Nights at Freddy's games now and kind of boil it down to like the basic story, which I believe in the that movie script Reddit post that Scott put out. That seems like what, 2 years ago at this point, 3 years ago at this point, where he said that they were going to do the Michael Afton story, and that's like a very finite, character arc across all of these games. It's not like it spans all the way up through Security Breach and Ruin. It's really cool how they show Josh Hutcherson going through the cameras and everything. It does look like the plot of this movie is going to be somewhat based around the survival mechanics of the first few games. I think that's cool. It's a fun way to, like Five Nights at Freddy's at this point, the first game, even though it's about 90s nostalgia, has its own nostalgia about it. Just really meta and weird, but that's why we love it. I love when Vanessa goes, technically they're animatronics. That's a nice little fan service moment. They're called animatronics. Don't you ever say robot around me or my family. Never. Also, that scene in the woods with Mike and what seems to be the 5 missing children, ghost kids, that looks wild. I can't wait to see that, because we never... Well, we have seen stuff like that in the video games, but it's always those little gray crying blob sprites. It's like when Eric Andre eats gray food.
They say if it's gray, it's healthy for you.
No one has ever said that.
It's really crazy just seeing like all, the spirits of these kids out in the woods, assuming we don't know that's for true yet. But when Vanessa says they want to make her like them, that sets off obviously a lot of red flags for a lot of us, because it's like she knows that the animatronics are haunted. Mike confirms it with her earlier in the trailer as well, but just the whole concept of that, like, oh, this cop knows that there's hauntings, and that even just the fact that ghosts are real in this universe, like in a lot of horror stories, it's like nobody thinks that ghosts are actually real until the protagonist meets one, right? But she's just strolling in like, oh, yep, ghost. Hey, did you know that there's ghosts over here? It's pretty cool, right? I don't know. You want some pizza? Last but not least, I want to talk about getting stuffed into the suit or whatever they're imagining it as, because wow, like if John Kramer was alive to see this saw trap of a animatronic, the spinning blades and everything, I feel like depending on how they do that may make or break this movie for a lot of people, because spring lock suits are like kind of a cool concept, right? Where they're completely innocent, even though they're kind of shoddily made, and they will kill you if they misfire. That's a cool concept, as opposed to circular saw blades in the back of the endoskeleton. My favorite part of the trailer is Springtrap humming the jingle. That sent chills down my spine. In the games, we never really hear him talk, except for beginning assisted location, maybe a couple other places. We never get to see his like murderous personality. We kind of do, but it's like, the purple sprite laughing or moving up and down or whatever. Very basic. I think that's going to be a big part about this movie for a lot of us Five Nights at Freddy's fans, is that we're going to see a lot of stuff that we normally only see in these pixelated 8-bit mini games from earlier in the series. And I'm really excited for that. I like seeing a more like open, imaginative direction where we get to see something that's not Atari graphics. I'm kind of down for anything at this point, so let's see what happens. I'm really excited for this movie. I just wanted to talk about the trailer for a little bit, and yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Until next time, peace, y'all.